The views and opinions expressed during this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other employees, advertisers, or sponsors.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, March 5th. I'm Michelle Dials, and you're listening to Talk of the Town on 1230 WSAL. Joining me this morning from Logansport Memorial Hospital, Vicki Bird is here. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am just fine.
And as usual, you have a guest with you.
I do. I have Dr. Vivek Sakal, who is our newest internal medicine physician, and he's here. We're here to introduce him today.
Well, good morning to you, Dr. Sakal.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for welcoming me.
Now, you are the second Dr. Sakal that we've heard from in a couple of months, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm assuming there's a correlation there.
That's my wife, right?
So you are new to the hospital. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay. I went to medical school in New Delhi, India, and after finishing up medical school, I did a year of rotating internship. Then I did another year of postgraduate residency training. Following that, I also did a couple of years of teaching in physiology in Maulana Azad Medical College there. Subsequently, both of us made a decision to come to the United States, and we immigrated here. We did our residency training at Long Island College Hospital. I did my residency training in internal medicine. After 3 years of residency training, I did 2 years of training, postgraduate fellowship in infectious disease at New York Hospital Medical Center of Queens. And after that, my wife decided that she wanted to go to Kansas. So we ended up in Kansas. And in Kansas, I gradually got introduced into the prospect of healing wounds, chronic wounds, diabetic wounds, other kinds of wounds. And I trained there with some of the best people in the country. The person who created the wound vac, which is, I think, known to every person who does any kind of wound care. So I wear multiple hats. I'm an internist. I'm also love doing critical care too. I've worked a lot as a hospitalist also. I love doing infectious disease work. I love to do wound care. Practically, there is nothing that I don't like doing.
Now, what is the difference between an internist and a hospitalist? We hear all those terms. Can you kind of explain what those mean?
Sure. For the most part, in today's day and age, as things are evolving in medicine, internists are by and large sticking to the outpatient side. And when patients get admitted to the hospital, they hand over the care of their patients to the hospitalist. And the hospitalist's role is only that, and that is to take care of patients who are in the hospital for that short period of time. And after that, the hospitalist has no role. Before that, they've got no role. So it's only during that acute phase that the hospitalist has a role.
Now, when we talk about internal medicine, is that basically general medicine?
Well, putting it simply, internal medicine is medicine for the adult.
Okay. So you work with adults.
Exactly.
And your wife works with kids.
Exactly.
You've got it all covered there, don't you?
Oh, yeah, between the two of us, we got it covered.
Now, New York to Kansas was probably a big change.
It was culture shock, yeah.
And I mean, from India to New York was probably,
Culture shock again.
yes. So how about Kansas to Logansport?
It's cold.
Right. It was probably cold there too, though, right?
No.
No?
No, in Kansas, never this bad. I mean, we've seen occasional, but it'll cool down, it'll warm up. I mean, this kind of unrelenting cold weather, we've never seen that in Kansas.
And once upon
I
a
was
time,
about to run away,
once I would have said it'll get better, but after this winter, I don't know.
I'm not sure. The prospects aren't looking good anytime soon, are they?
Right. It seems like it's going on and on and on.
Is it still going to snow anymore?
It's still going to be cold. We're not to get out of the
Come
30s
on.
for a while.
Don't tell me that.
We do want you to stay. We hope there's relief in sight and that it'll be hot someday.
And you can help me. If you could just change the weather, I would definitely stay.
Trust me, I've tried. Every time I read it, I think I would like to just take this snow out of there and do something else with it. But so wound care. It seems like, just based on people that I know and that I've been around, there seems to be an issue nowadays with people who have a wound that won't heal. Is that increasing?
It all depends upon the kind of care that they get. It also depends upon the kind of preventive care that they get. I'm actually amazed because I've rounded in some of the nursing facilities here. And I would say that the nursing staff is doing an incredible job in the nursing facilities. I've really not seen anything significant there. Not to say that they don't get patients who have come in with wounds at times. They've told me about that. But at least they're not getting wounds. The other thing is that, typically for diabetics, because since they lose the sensation in their feet, I've seen people with feet burnt up because they don't know what happened. But what we're doing is there are some good guidelines that we're following in the office, in the internal medicine office, where we've got a sign up there which says, if you're a diabetic, take off your shoes and socks. So we make sure that we examine them, not just looking at them, but also doing a monofilament test, which is by pricking their feet to make sure that their sensations are intact.
So basically, what happens is they lose that sensation and they may not even know that it's becoming a problem until it's advanced to a level where it needs additional care.
It becomes too late by that time.
So are there specific things that people who are diabetic should look for?
Absolutely.
Do you want to talk about a little bit what some of those might be?
Yes. Diabetics should examine their feet at the very least once a day. And it should be examined by somebody else in the family who can actually take a good look at the feet and make sure that there is no callus formation, because initially it's the callus formation and eventually that's what develops into a wound. So calluses are important. They should never cut their nails themselves. They should always go to a professional for getting their nails cut. If their sensation is impaired in any way, they most likely have diabetic polyneuropathy and should seek attention and care and treatment for that before it gets worse. If they find that on walking they get pain in the calves and it improves with rest, most likely they have a problem with their circulation, and that should be checked out also.
And eventually, I mean, that can get to the point where they're losing limbs over this, correct?
If they don't pay enough attention, they will lose limbs.
But is it something that if preemptive care is taken, you can prevent that?
Absolutely.
Now, as far as yourself, how long have you been in Logansport? Do you want to count by
Today
snowstorms?
yeah, I'm just counting days. It's. I think it's about a month and 4 days.
A month and 4 days. And what are your initial impressions? Besides it's cold.
Other than the cold,
Probably haven't been able to get out and see much, have you?
It's kind of nice. I mean, I like the small town atmosphere. I think it's great because, I'm a firm believer in small town America. People understand, people get to know you very quickly. I've always said that if you're a bad doctor, stay away from a small town. If you're a good doctor, there's nothing to be afraid of because people are always going to speak about you highly and you'll develop your practice very fast. So I enjoy this.
So are you accepting new patients?
Yes. Bring them all on. Logansport, I am here. I will see everybody.
There you go. Now, Vicki, I know you have a lot of events coming up this month, and one of the things is something related to diabetes with the Ask an Expert program.
We actually, I'm looking here at my list, have a couple diabetes things. We have the Diabetes Support Group, which is next week, March the 12th, and that's something that occurs every month. And then Diabetes Basics, which are the classes that Karen Scheidler facilitates, and those you actually have to be referred to. And I think they're primarily for new diabetic patients.
Okay. Isn't there some sort of event coming, like an Ask an Expert event coming up later on this month where there will be, I think it's an evening event.
I'm not sure of that date. It's actually not here on my calendar that I printed out, but I know she brings someone in occasionally as we do the grocery shopping tours and some different things for a diabetic population.
And it really, I mean, I know we've talked about diabetes before and the increase in that, and you've spoken to it today as well. That is something that is affecting our community as well as communities everywhere.
It is. I mean, we have a high prevalence in our community.
Now, as far as, we didn't talk about the infectious disease side of things. Can you just kind of go over what that encompasses, Dr. Segal?
Sure. Infectious disease, just to kind of give you a flavor of what that is all about. Let's say you get a patient who has recurrent pneumonia. I'm just pulling something out of my hat. And they've tried all the usual antibiotics and the patient is just not getting better. Well, that's typically where somebody like me would step in and kind of fine-tune and figure out exactly, first of all, what is causing the pneumonia? What are the likely organisms that are involved? And then what would be the best antibiotic regimen that would be appropriate for that? Then, let's say we are talking about a diabetic foot ulcer. Well, a diabetic foot ulcer typically will gather all kinds of dirt. So you really can't go sometimes by what the cultures are telling you every time, unless it's really predominant one organism. So then the next part that comes in is, does the patient have circulation? Antibiotics are not going to do any good if there is no circulation. And then if the circulation is good, the patient bleeds well, cultures are showing predominance of one organism, then we've got to establish, do they have infection in the bone or is it superficial? If it is deep-seated in the bone, then you've got to treat for a longer period of time. If it's superficial, probably you'll get away with a shorter period of time. Then let's say you got a sick patient who's in the intensive care unit with a pneumonia on a ventilator. Now, typically that's the kind of patient that you want to make sure that you call an ID physician about, because let me put it to you this way. We guys are used to looking at things from a different point of view. We don't just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, okay, let's give that particular medicine. We're very used to thinking of things completely differently from a lot of other people, where we think about, in a particular situation, what are the most likely organisms that are causing the problem? And then try to orient the therapy to that particular antimicrobial flora that we think is causing the problem in the patient.
Very interesting. You know your stuff. I can tell. As far as other things that you have coming up at the hospital, Vicki, that you would like to share before we wrap up today, are there more?
We actually
more
have
events?
a couple events coming up today. We have an open house at our Peru Medical Center. That's our newest physician clinic that we've opened. It's on Logansport Road as you go into Peru the old way. It's from 4 to 6, so if you're interested in meeting Dr. Kenny and Joe Estes, our nurse practitioner over there, or you want to just stop by and see the office, please join us there. As well as we have another open house on Sunday, March the 16th in the afternoon from 2 to 4, and that's to introduce our orthopedic team to the community. We have had our Dr. Christopher Hogue has joined the team, and we now have a full staff of orthopedics and want to get them out to the community and meet the public as well. And as soon as it warms up, we'll be having a race. April 26th is Oh Baby Run. We're starting to plan for that, and information will start coming out soon about how to sign up and participate in the race.
Now, the Peru Medical Clinic, we've not talked about that a whole lot on this program, but is it like ExpressMed or is it by appointment?
It's by appointment. Now, we will take walk-in appointments during the day, but it is by appointment. Dr. Kenny is there full-time. Joe Estes, I believe, is working 3 days a week, but we do have, and then we also will be, I believe Dr. Segal will be joining us 1 day a week later in Peru as well. We'll be adding some orthopedic and eventually hope to add OBGYN over there. So we will have our specialist go over there 1 day a week. And we also offer complete lab services in the clinic as well. So we serve a lot of people from Miami County, and we think this is a way to get those people, into our offices and using our facilities without having to come to Logansport for all of their services.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. So again, that open house today, the times for that?
4 to 6.
4 to 6 today in Peru.
Yep.
All right. And then the orthopedics open house is March 16th?
March 16th, 2 to 4.
There was one other thing that I wanted to add on, Michelle, and that is I've had an incredible experience in Logansport so far. I find that the physicians are wonderful to get along with. Interdisciplinary discussions between surgeons and orthopedic people and us are constant and ongoing. It's not like, they leave a note and goodbye. They'll talk to you, and that is precious, because in most parts of the country they don't do that.
I think that's a great thing that you shared, and that's something consistently we hear from the physicians that you bring, Vicki, is how much they enjoy working together, and I think that's a really nice thing.
And that, it fits well with, we had Crystal here last month to talk about the medical home, and we really are wanting to become integrated so that we are able to provide, the best care possible for our patients. And it does start with communication, with all of the disciplines working together and communicating so that everyone is on the same page with the patient's care and diagnosis.
Well, and when you were talking about the wound care, it kind of struck me that I think people come in and they expect, okay, I've got a wound, you fix it. And there isn't always a magical fix right that minute. Like you said, sometimes it does take time, and it's kind of like the snow. We get up in the morning and we think it should just be gone because people have plows on their trucks.
Well, it should.
Right, exactly. But I mean, you addressed some important points there, I think,
Well,
about all that goes into it.
On that issue, Michelle, I'll tell you something. If you explain things to the patients well, it is actually one of the most rewarding aspects of medicine. Because I've had patients who've had wounds for 15 years. And yeah, it took me a year or two to get it under control. But once I've gotten it under control, patients are thrilled beyond belief. So it works both ways. I mean, obviously, if you're giving them the rosy picture that it's all going to be gone, it's going to be hunky-dory, that ain't gonna work out. But if you do it appropriately and tell them the risks, the dangers, and how much time it might take, they respond very well.
Dr. Vivek Sagal and Vicki Bird from Logansport Memorial Hospital, thank you guys both so much for coming in and sharing some time with us this morning.
Thank you very
you.
much, Michelle.
And welcome again to Logansport.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this half of Talk of the Town. We will be back with more.